Hello and welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. I'm your host, the Nerd Man, and with me today is Super Zero. How are you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, man.
So
basically, we're going to be talking through a full spoiler talk of this episode, season 2 of The Boys. Episode, what is it? 5 now or 6?
I think it's 6.
Episode 6, yeah, and it's the episode we've got is called "We Gotta Go Now." Interesting episode. I want you to just for a second, can you just introduce the what happened in the episode for us, Super Zero? Just like a quick, brief synopsis. I'll join you in just a second and help you out.
Yeah, no problem.
One second.
Basically, we pick up from the last episode where the boys are kind of diving into why Frenchie acts, why he has such a burden, or why he acts like he has such a burden or a chip on his shoulder, why he's always so hard on himself. And we actually get to figure out where the Stormfront and Homelander connection, comes full circle, basically.
Great synopsis, man. Thank you. No. It's actually a really, really good synopsis. I couldn't have done it better myself.
It's an amazing episode.
Tell me what were your thoughts on it? What did you make of it?
I loved it so much. And last episode was kind of dragged a little bit. I did love the character development and all the things about Butcher and.
Actually, we might as well talk about last episode because remember, we actually did a stream reviewing the last episode, and then it was taken off YouTube for some reason. So we might as well do a recap of what we thought about the last episode. I wasn't too big a fan. You were. You did.
No, you're right. I wasn't that great of a fan of that episode as well, because that seemed like that was the episode that was like filler for the whole season. It really seemed like it.
Right. I can't even remember what it revolved around. I know it had some like Queen Maeve is slow becoming she went from one of my favorite characters and she's slowly just going down and down and down, and this episode didn't help either.
No.
Not that she did anything wrong in the episode. It's just that she's not particularly interesting anymore. She's not her side of the story isn't particularly compelling. I would have thought she would have been better served like having one good guy who can actually challenge Homelander. Maybe not as powerful as Homelander, but like actually could conceivably challenge Homelander. If she was that character, I would find her much more compelling, because it's not her, it's not the actress, it's nothing that she's doing. It's just that they're not giving. It's like they have to come up with a storyline with her.
Yeah, right? They need that the gay subplot or lesbian subplot. They need to involve her ex-girlfriend now, because that's kind of like
it's the only thing she's got. They dealt with that last season. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it didn't get too much into it. And they mentioned it, and it was kind of like you could tell that they're bringing it up later on down the road,
Yeah, but I don't think it was necessary. I thought you got enough about her in the last season where
you're right.
You didn't. I mean, it's kind of funny. I mean, I like her more, but even the guy, the Deep, is a more interesting character to me now than Queen Maeve. Which is puzzling. I think she's the least interesting. She's got the least interesting story of any of the 7 at the moment, basically. But having said that, it doesn't matter because she isn't a really big part of the show. So, but last week it delved a bit more into that relationship. What else did happen?
You met Butcher's aunt, and we got Terror came, his dog.
Yeah, and the Black Noir was after them. And basically, yeah, it was really a filler episode. essentially, the thing that really bothered me is that I'm not really liking Butcher at the moment. I mentioned that I thought the actor is a great actor, but I just don't think like the English the Cockney that he's using is a bit overdone. It's not realistic. I know he's supposed to be complex.
You know how that is. You're from that area, so.
Yeah, I and you can be much funnier using that kind of Cockney and much more witty than he is, and so there's that. It's kind of overcooked his how he speaks, and also the complexity of the character is it's not very enthralling. It's not very interesting, but at the same time, it's not he's not a very sympathetic character either. So I don't know what he's supposed to be. Is he hero, villain, somewhere in between? He's kind of around the gamut of all of those, but at the same time, it's not made him more complex or fascinating to me in the way that I see the Seven. I feel like the show should be the Seven. More focused on the Seven rather than on the boys. And when it does, or if it focuses on the wrong boys, it focuses on Huey and and actually this is interesting because it focuses on Huey and Butcher.
I'm gonna grab my headphones. I think that might actually be the problem. I just realized that.
Yeah, probably.
Sorry about that. Let's see if does that change it?
I was going to say, actually, the point I was making is actually, it brings me to the point, because I was going to say that when they focus on the boys, the show isn't interesting. But actually, what I really mean is when they focus on Butcher and Stewie, the show isn't interesting. And that's
Huey?
why, or whatever his name is, Stewie.
Huey.
Is it Stewie? Is it Huey? Okay.
Yeah.
When they focus on those two, it's really boring, and their story is overplayed. It's uninteresting. And now you get an episode where it really focuses and does a deep dive into Mother's Milk, showing Mother's Milk as more the leader, the compassionate leader of the boys, showing Frenchie for what he is, and showing and developing the female a lot more, and having those three represent most of what's going on in the boys. It made a world of difference to me.
Yeah.
I was now interested in what was going on with them, as well as what was going on with the Seven. And so, we can go into more detail about what happened. I think, do you agree with me when it was focusing on these three that it was a little bit more interesting, focusing on Frenchie and
I think those characters have a better dynamic working together when they're on screen together. I'm just gonna call Miki or whatever her name, the girl, because that's what she's titled in the comics, and
it's the female.
Even the female or the girl, that either or.
Okay.
But, when it's her and Frenchie, it's incredible, and she doesn't even talk to him. It's great. You can see that emotion. You can see
she's a great actress.
Yeah, she's an incredible actress. Is that who played in Suicide Squad? Who played?
Yeah, absolutely.
It is.
It was
okay.
And
That's
she
what
should be in Suicide Squad too, and it annoys me that she isn't. But anyway,
yeah, she was awesome. I loved her. Even though she was an underused character, I still loved her. I like the character in the comics as well too. But yeah, Mother's Milk. I've always been interested in him more than Butcher because I just like him. He's a compassionate, like you're saying. He has feelings. He's not just a one-note character. Like Butcher is just upset, pissed off, carries a grudge, feels like he's failed. I think he feels like he's failed the boys, his wife, his ex-wife, his son. That's not his son. We don't know if it's his son, but I don't think it's Homelander's son either. I think it just has Homelander's genes. and
I
Compound
think
V.
what they were going for with the boys, and we need to delve more into the story beats, because there's some really huge revelations in this episode. But I think what they were going for in the boys, right, is to have a show with no heroes. And what they've realized is the show actually works better when there are some compelling heroes, some people who are on the right side. Because in the last season, even Mother's Milk was a bit of an asshole. I didn't like Mother's Milk in the first season. I thought
Really?
not that I didn't like his performance or anything, because even then I had time for Butcher up until the end, where I was like, I'm really not getting why this guy is the leader, why they're following him. I don't like him. He doesn't have any incredible skills that make him compelling. You know, he's not a great fighter or military leader or anything that would make me think he'd pose a challenge to the Seven or be compelling to watch, right? So I was like done with him by the end of the season. Mother's Milk I wasn't done with by the end of the season. I just thought he was a bit of an asshole for no reason. And I didn't really get it. But ever since they've given him that compassionate side, I just think that suits that guy, the actor, a lot more. Like making him the compassionate leader, which, you know, maybe he should just take over, bro. Like, because I think he's much better. But just kill Butcher in a shock ending to the show. But I want to talk about the details of the episode, of this episode, because it was one hell of an episode, as you said. I have told you controversially that I do not like the ending. I found it too predictable. So we'll get to that. Remind me of that. And we must also talk about the new show that's been ordered by Amazon. That's going to be based in a college, a Vought run college. I don't know if you know about it. I'll talk to you about it.
Yeah, I don't.
But just remind me, just in case I get too involved with what we're talking about.
They're doing that with so many shows. If you think about that, before we go anywhere after this, they're doing that with Suicide Squad with the Peacemaker. He's getting a television show on HBO Max. They're doing that with The Boys, as you just told me.
And the Batman.
Yeah, they're doing it with Batman, with the GCPD. Man, everything. So much. It's like they want more just to either get more money or develop a subplot into a
I think they realize streaming is really the future and they need content.
Especially what's going on now.
And by connecting the cinematic things that people are into in the cinema and getting streaming shows based on them, I think it's a sensible idea. Develop, expanding the worlds, because that's what happens in the comics essentially. So they expand the worlds. But so back to the episode, that's a good point you made, though. Maybe we can do a dedicated stream just about all of these spin-offs and which ones we're most excited about.
Good idea. Very good idea.
I want to do one about the Marvel shows as well, so we could add that into it. Okay, so what I guess there were 3 points we can talk about it by character. So I think we should start off with the Stormfront and what happened with her this episode, the revelations, because it kind of into what happened with the boys as well. So
it actually starts out with pretty much like Stormfront, what you're talking about, and then it shifts to the pretty much oh gosh, what's her name? Huey's girlfriend. What's her name? Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting so many names. I'm getting old. But anyways, Huey's girlfriend basically takes Starlight takes out the chip, or the little, the chip that tells Vought where she is. Location device, everything. So she goes to the boys' hideout. Huey brings her there, and And it's kind of strange because everyone is welcoming, even Butcher. You know, you would think, like, what he would be like, what the hell is she doing here? But he's very nice. It's kind of strange. It's the exact opposite of Butcher's character. Like, but yeah, then so that they take out that chip and then they shift to Stormfront, and then they show the connection of the hospital that we got a little introduction to when she was on the phone with Lamplighter, and that did turn out to be
right.
Lamplighter.
So basically, just heavy spoilers ahead. The hospital is a place where they are trying to perfect the compound V that makes the supers. So essentially, compound V only works on infants at the moment, and they want it to work on adults. But what happens when you put it in adults is that that some of them get powers, some of them mutate into freaks, and it just depends on whichever. And there's one of my favorite parts of the episode that we must talk about, which involves somebody's member. But basically, Stormfront they're still shooting this stupid Seven movie, right? The movie about the Seven.
Yes.
And Stormfront's on the on location on the film. What do they call it? The film site. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the Seven, the Dawn of the Seven film.
No, but the film set. Pardon me. The set of the film. So they're on the set of the film, and Stormfront basically says, she wants to leave. She wants to leave Homelander and go and visit a hospital. Plus, before that, and I'm waiting on the moment where people are going to start calling this show woke and start attacking this show, because before that, Stormfront actually and Homelander kill some criminal who is, basically asked, can he be taken into custody, and they kill him instead. And they start talking about all these people who will be filming with cameras and all of that stuff that happens these days, and how basically it's got in the way of them being able to just do as they wish, and they're lamenting that. So there was that aspect, the social commentary to the episode, and I'm just waiting for all the YouTube channels to start going how woke it is and how it's trying to virtue signal and all of this bullshit. But anyway, we'll see. That's my prediction for what's going to happen with the internet.
Yeah, you're right. It's bound to happen.
It's going to happen very, very soon. I just can't wait.
And that's how you can separate people.
Don't bring politics into my TV shows.
Entertainment.
It's like, what are you talking about? Politics is in everything. I mean, you can't. But anyway. So they do that, and then Stormfront goes to some secret hospital, and essentially this is where they're trying to figure out how to.
Shady Oaks, the Shady Oaks, is that the name of the place?
I'm not sure what it was called. I didn't follow into it that or stay. I didn't basically look into it that much, but you're probably right. I think it was something like Shady Oaks.
Mm-hmm.
So, in any case, she So carry on. Tell them what happens with the hospital, basically.
The boys go to the hospital to figure out what's going on. They see Stormfront land and basically go into the hospital. Butcher, Huey, and Starlight are outside waiting, just watching, observing. And Mother's Milk, Huey, and the female go inside the hospital to figure out what's going on. And they break into the hospital. They do it very successfully. Go pretty much to the hard drive room, the room with all the cameras and everything. And they take all the hard drives. Mm-hmm. And then they go to leave, and it's kind of funny. Frenchie notices that one of the persons they pass by is a lamplighter. And we figure.
So let's stick to Stormfront's element of the episode, right? So Stormfront comes here, and then you find out like she's come to the hospital essentially,
Yes.
and then she goes back to Homelander, and Homelander, is curious about what she was doing because she's lied and made some excuse up about what she's actually doing. And
she said she was in a meeting.
Yeah, she said she was in some kind of meeting.
Yeah.
And that's when it kind of gets real, because basically we get the revelation of where Stormfront actually comes from. And so Stormfront essentially, that now that Stormfront and Homelander are basically lovers together. There was a lot of kind of thought that Stormfront might actually be the mother of Homelander. But it turns out that she is, basically a Nazi experiment, much like in the comics. So she's years old. She's
1919. She was born.
She was born in 1919. She's there with pictures with Himmler and Hitler and all of these guys. And then, so basically it turns out like she's a Nazi, and she wants Homelander to join in with her.
Lead. She wants him to lead an army.
Army of Supermen who are with her kind of Nazi ideology. And this is where I was a little bit disappointed. I was disappointed, first of all, that they revealed this early. But then again, I don't know where they're going with the storyline, so I can't really be too disappointed in that. But the other thing I was fundamentally disappointed in was, because I really liked all of it. I've loved the Stormfront character. I thought she's just such a good, intriguing, interesting, evil fucking bitch of a character. But I like her. But I was just like, I was hoping that Homelander would have a different response, because Homelander basically embraces this immediately. And that for me makes him a very one-dimensional villain. I thought that even if in some small, weird level, he aligns himself with the American ideal, right? With the kind of concept of freedom and liberty, and then the idea of her being a Nazi actually freaks him out a little bit. And he doesn't know what to do with that because of his pure American values. I would have thought that would have made him a little bit more of a nuanced villain, because usually this show has never taken the easy route, and I feel like this was the easy route. Oh, of course, he's just going to sympathize with Nazis straight away.
Right.
Right. What do you think?
I think it's the whole thing where he doesn't have any family. He's searching. Well, I don't know if he's searching for his mother, but he's wondering about his mother, which I still think, if she is the first successful super, and they took her genes and put them into a child, or raised, were able to make a baby, that would still make her down the line his mother in a way, Sure. So I mean, there's that connection. There's that connection that he has with her, wanting a mother figure, and I think that's kind of like the milk, the breasts, the comforting, the like when he would lay his head in the girl in
her breasts,
yeah, and just kind of like
it's all very Oedipal, with
it's like he's a child.
And he's done. And by the way, just so you know, like he's by far and away, with him and Stormlander or Stormfront, they're running away with this season.
Yeah, he's in love. He's in love
No,
with her.
I mean not just in love. I'm talking about the performance of both of these characters.
Oh, it's good.
They're really like I haven't mentioned it because of the you wouldn't have known that because you haven't seen the review for the last episode, but just absolutely amazing performances, and they're running away with the show in terms of the compelling characters, the characters that I want to see. Every scene, every part that these two are in is the compelling part of the show. It's the you don't want to miss it part of the show, right? And she's just scary powerful. You realize how scary powerful she is. I'm still unsure as to what her power level is in relation to Homelander, though.
I don't know. That look she gave him when it looked like he was gonna pop her head off when he had his hands around her neck, and she looked genuinely scared for the first time in any episode. She looked, she.
Do you feel like maybe she just doesn't know if she's powerful enough to take him?
Quite possibly,
or do you think it's certain that he's just way stronger and more powerful than her?
God, that's so hard to say because I can't. I mean, we can't really tell yet because, like you're saying, we haven't seen what she's really capable of.
I mean, she moves fast.
Yeah,
she moves fast. She flies.
She's super powerful.
She's very strong.
She has like Colossus-like skin where nothing can puncture or break her skin. Like when Homelander lasered her chest, he would just cut through somebody normally. He would just gone, cut in half.
Yeah.
And it just heated her up like a piece of metal.
Yeah, and then she healed like almost immediately.
Like so quick. So I think I don't know. That's so difficult to say because I think she could defeat him, but I think that's because he's whooped. He's swooning over her, and I think he's in love with her because she is just like him, and that's what he wants.
I just think that the one thing they could have given him, the one little wrinkle that they could have given him as a redeeming feature is that he's not a Nazi.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I
thought it was too easy to just make Homelander now a Nazi sympathizer so easily.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been brainwashed with all these kind of American ideals and values, and it would have been just that little wrinkle where he doesn't accept that.
There's that scene in the comics, and now this happens in the comics. They actually filmed it to happen in the show, and they just couldn't go through with it. Where and this happens during Herogasm in the comics, the trade paperback Herogasm. He is flying up in the air with no pants on. He has a shirt and a cape, and he's masturbating in the air, staring down at the world. And he's like, I'm so powerful, just going at it. And he's like, I can do anything I want because I'm Homelander, which they filmed it and they couldn't bring themselves to do it. I think that he went, and this is what kind of made him think differently at that time when he confronted Stormfront, when she said, you can lead us and you're the strongest. She's like basically feeding his ego and a god complex, which I think she's totally using him, like we discussed before.
She's using him.
Yeah.
If she isn't using him, then I think this is it will really disappoint me.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. If she turns out to not be playing him, it's no way.
And she actually loves him or something like that.
Yeah, that's
I'll just be like, but that's where it seems like that's part of the reason it was disappointing how he took it. Do you know what I mean? Like he just accepted it straight away.
She's just gonna find another one like Homelander.
You know the way, I suppose it's like this, the way that they've made a Butcher just, you know, where you don't know hero or villain, what exactly is he? I think in that sense, Homelander should be kind of similar, you know, that he really is doing it for some warped notion of what American values are. You know what I mean? Like if he was really doing it for some warped nation, and plus he has like black colleagues. Maybe they'll bring this up later. Maybe he isn't thinking about it completely. Yeah, but he, you know, he had black colleagues and you know, other races working with him in this company. I guess he doesn't give a shit. I mean, he's just a violent psychopath. So,
yeah,
I guess
he's a super. So that's it.
But he's also a psychopath. He has no feelings for anyone. But you know what I mean? Like even certain psychopaths would be like, they'll stop it. Like, well, I'm not a racist. You know, I'm not. Yeah. I'll kill everyone equally. Right?
There's a line. You know, there's a line.
I'm not gonna target like. Yeah, like he sees Americans as Americans, right? Like a black an African American or a Chinese American or any American who is the people that he doesn't care about are criminals or anybody who gets in his way, or you know, anyone who's un-American, anyone who's outside of America, right? He's like a pure American kind of flag waving, you know, kind of believer in that. I would have thought that would have been an interesting dynamic to say, okay, this is where he draws the line, like the Aryan Brotherhood. But apart from that, the episode was excellent for me. Yeah,
it was a great episode. You should we should tell the viewers what happens when they actually try to leave the hospital. What you liked about that?
Oh right, yeah, no. This is absolutely a very good point. So the episode there's another kind of subplot to the episode where we get to reveal a lot more about Frenchie's background and what made him into Frenchie. Really interesting story, and now I'm much more. I already knew I liked Frenchie, but now this has really given me something to latch on to in terms of his character and to, you know, in terms of caring about what's happening with him. Whereas before I just kind of liked him. Now I've got an in-depth kind of, and you know, you guys should watch the episode and, you know, see what happens with that. But him and the Mother's Milk and the female are now really forming a kind of bond together and going on adventures together. And I feel like they're the ones to watch in The Boys. Out of the Boys characters, they're the ones to watch. I wish she still had her brother with her. I think it would have made the dynamic a little bit more interesting. But, you know, what the hell, I forget about that, right? They basically are trying to get into this hospital, I guess, to steal the hard drives to get the information off the hard drives about what Vought are doing with these soups, or creating adult supers. And what I love about this show is, with every power or every, you know, like there was a couple of weeks ago where there was a guy who can cut off his body parts and then they regrow, right? And he turned out like he was a sex worker, which, you know, in that world there would be people with those fetishes. And this show has exploited so brilliantly. I mean, I've never, even myself, you know, never thought of these kind of concepts of what would happen in a world that existed with supers. And this week's one was probably the best of all time. So basically, Mr. Fantastic has the power to stretch his limbs.
Mm-hmm.
So we end up with a character who, they're looking in the monitors to see each one of the cells and what's happening in each one of the cells, and basically things happen to do with Frenchie's backstory, and all the supers kind of escape from their cells. So these newly adult made supers escape from their cells. And one of the cells that we've looked in was a guy who you just thought, oh, well.
Big Russian guy.
Yeah, he's a big Russian guy. And you just thought, oh, he's just this guy who's going to have,
power. He's going to be strong and have power.
No, he was just a mutant guy because he has this big, massive dick. And they mentioned that some of the experiments go wrong, right? But you see in his trousers, he's just got this big loaf there. And I didn't think too much of it. And then when the three of them are hiding, because the whole place is under siege by all of these different supers who are going around killing everyone working in the hospital. They're hiding in some place, and you just see somebody's limb smash through the glass window. And I immediately knew it. He has Mr. Fantastic's power, but only in his dick, right? So this guy was able to stretch his limbs and use his dick to wrap around mother's milk.
It was hilarious because they heard a sound. So they heard a sound like maybe like glass breaking or something falling over, metal falling over on the ground. And mother's milk is like, you hear that? What was that? He goes over by the door to look out. Oh, it's so perfect. It's perfect.
I know,
so
right?
Perfect. It's great. Just when you take things too far, they go even farther. Love it.
It is crazy. So I mean, all in all, those were the two things that it was just a really good episode and it wasn't a filler episode. Every moment of it was tense.
No, not at all. This is a balls to the wall. Keep going until you get to the end of the episode, and then you're just like, holy shit, the episode's over with. You're like, damn, I'm out of breath.
Yeah, it really was. It really was one of those episodes that just it kept going and kept
made
going.
Up for last week, basically. It
really made up for last week. Yeah. But I feel like there's going to be one more or a couple more filler episodes.
When he realizes what it was, he was like, was that his dick? And what does Frenchie say? Try not to be so close-minded.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
That was. I didn't know how he got killed, though. That was really strange that he got killed kind of off screen. But anyway.
I think
so. Yeah, there was.
Just knocked him out.
I see.
She's got those rings, those knuckle rings. I don't know what it says. I didn't see what it says in the beginning, but she's just like, she's got them on.
It was cut badly. It was cut badly. It was a badly cut scene. I think they cut out some part of it where you see her knock him out or something like that. But in any case, yeah, like the episode was full of surprises and really a good episode. I do think there's going to be a couple of filler episodes, much like in the last season. And I was really enjoying this season up until episode 5. Even 4, it kind of dipped as well. But 5 was a real dip. And then you get this episode, which was just, I just want to know what happens now. I'm hoping that it doesn't go the really, the really expected route of him just becoming a Nazi and she's not trying to play him or anything like that. I hope there's more to Stormfront than just this revelation, basically.
Me too.
And also that she's his mother, because that is kind of, you can see that a mile away.
Mm-hmm.
That she's his grandmother or mother or some kind of figure in his family. Having said that, what would you rank this episode?
Oh gosh, honestly, this is my favorite episode of the season so far. Really?
Oh, really?
It really is. Yeah, I loved it because everything's basically. I see everything is coming to a closed, perfect circle. We're getting things that we have discussed before, and our thoughts are basically coming to fruition. And I like seeing that. That's my favorite thing about this is we read all the books and we follow the shows and we love all of this stuff so much. It's good to see, especially people like us, because we're writers. We're both writers. And it's good to see something when we discuss something and our ideas are the ideas that, they come true. Like,
yeah. So, okay, on to the next thing, which is I would give this a B plus for this episode. I think it was really good. I thought the ending, depending on where they go with it, it might go up to an A. But I thought the ending was a little bit predictable with how.
We forgot.
And if this is the big revelation of Stormfront, I think they should have waited a little while longer and left a bit more mysterious for a while. But we forgot to mention. We also get a little bit more information about Madam Curator, the lady that used to be the actual. She would tell the boys where to go, what to do. Just in case somebody hasn't watched the episode yet, I don't want to spoil everything for them.
Oh, okay.
But there's some kind of intrigue with her as well. But yeah, I think I'd give this an A plus. I wanted to move on now just to briefly discuss the spin-off show and what you're thinking about what's going to be happening with the spin-off show. So talk for a moment about the spin-off show.
Oh, I don't know about the show. That's the first time I heard it was from you. The VOD, I have no idea about it. But I can't wait for whatever it is. More boys, more 7, more V, Compound V. Let's do it.
So I'm going to read this article basically that talks about the show, so we can get some kind of idea of what's going on with it. But essentially, what we do know about it so far is that it's going to be set in a universe, like a college or an academy for supers, and so we're going to be following kind of teenagers, who, kind of like the Generation X or the X-Men kind of thing of supers with powers. Who Vought is kind of raising. I don't know exactly what they're going to be doing with them, but that's the kind of gist of the show. So
very cool.
I'll tell you now. We've got some neighbors doing something. So Amazon superhero show The Boys is getting a college spin-off. In the war of streaming services, killer content is the best ammunition. Amazon's original series The Boys is so popular that not only was a third season ordered before a second season even aired, but a spin-off also is in the works. Executive producers Seth Rogen, Eric Kripke confirmed the news on Twitter, and the spin-off will feature a superhero college run by a giant corporation, Vought International according to Deadline. While The Boys is based on the American comic book series of the same name, the untitled spin-off is expected to focus on the university and feature original writing. Deadline reports that, like the existing show, the spin-off is likely to be an R-rated and irreverent as it explores the Hunger Games-style competition between hormonal superheroes or supes as they test their physical, sexual, and moral boundaries.
Great. Sounds like fun. We need to take a moment before we even go any further to like just give a thank you and a big like hand to Seth Rogen and his writing partner and his production partner. He's done so much, and this is Seth Rogen that we're talking about. Think about it. Let's think about it. Like Knocked Up.
Yeah.
From Knocked Up to now becoming a great producer that has given us Preacher, The Boys, like so many projects, and we're getting a lot more too. He's like full steam.
He's becoming prolific. Yeah. I really, as I said, I love the take in that it's able to satirize both comic books really, really well, like the internal logic of comic books, in terms of really thinking about like what would happen if people had all these weird and wacky powers, and what kind of powers would they have, and what would be the implications of their powers, what would they do with those powers. And he's done so well in kind of thinking outside the box of what they would be. You know, it's kind of almost like half of what I've always wanted the X-Men movies to be, in a way. You know, to really
more
kind of
adult.
explore these, like
adults, because
obviously a kind of PG version of this, where you kind of have it where you see like certain X-Men and them doing, you know, being part of, you know, certain kind of
normal things
that
happen, you know, like basically living just like humans. They don't have to change just because they have powers, you know. They're still do everyday things that we do. But that's a great
being complicated by superpowers. And then also the kind of it touching on all of the political kind of stuff as well, happening today, whether, you know, they kind of you know, aped or discussed the like feminism in the modern age and what that is about, and the kind of the feminazis almost, where Stormfront ended up being a kind of like, at first she was like this feminist cool chick who wasn't into like Vought and how it kind of represented women, and their costumes and stuff like that. So she discussed that, and then, you know, also them discussing police brutality, not taking any stance on it necessarily, but just kind of bringing that into it to show what that reality, how our reality, or things that are happening or discussed in our reality would play out in this reality. So, you know, I love that thing about everyone having smartphones to be able to record things these days, and that being a major problem. You know, even Homelander even mentioned in the last episode that how the hell do these people have no food to eat in Africa, but they have a smartphone
Everybody has a smartphone,
to record me doing this. So that was really, really interesting for me, and I thought that was this is a really great part of, you know, the show. So yeah, I think he's doing a brilliant job, and you're right, in terms of how he's developed these shows. But like, as I was saying, onto this new show, I think it just sounds really intriguing, and I think it's a really good way to flesh out even further this world. And I think it does what everyone's been saying, which is it's now going to focus on supers, who are clearly the most interesting characters in this world. It's not the boys, it's not the humans. The humans are way down the show, basically, if anything. So having a show that fully focuses on a super team, I think will be really good.
Originally in the comics, you haven't read the comics yet all the way, have you?
No, I've just read the first 2 volumes.
Oh, okay.
And a very long time ago as well.
Well, yeah, I mean they're older, and there's quite a few of them too. Let's just say the boys actively use Compound V to be able to face supers in the first place in the comics. So, I mean, that's what I think. That's what I think they might be leading into because of all the talk of perfecting Compound V. That eventually they're going to have to use it on somebody, and it's probably going to be one of the boys to be able to stand up the Stormfront.
I think so.
Yeah,
I hope so. I hope so. Anyway, so I think that could we can leave our discussion on that there. But yeah, I think let's move on to the next we'll move on to a next topic. I don't know, should we cut off this video and then because we don't know if I'll be able to
we should do that.
Record again. All right, here's what we'll do. I'm going to split the video now, but here we go. So just to say thanks very much. Please do make sure that you give us a high five and comment on what you thought of the this episode, where you think the show's going. If you like this episode, if you've been liking the season, and apart from that, thanks very much. Give us a high five, give us a comment, and subscribe if you like this. Subscribe for more content like this. And yeah, thanks. See you guys. Bye. Peace. Ooh. Okay, it's not working.
Oh no.
All right. Well, we'll start. Hello and welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. I'm your host, the Nerd Man, and with me today is
Super Zero.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Good. So we're going to be talking today about new news regarding regarding Tom Cruise being cast in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, or at least casting rumors about Tom Cruise appearing in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So just to get you up to speed with what's going on, if you don't know, So here we go. Tom Cruise rumored to join the MCU as Iron Man. So before you, so here we go. Nobody is going to be able to replace Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man in the MCU. But if you go back to a time before the very first Iron Man movie was released in 2008, it's a time we could be seeing Tom Cruise take on the Tony Stark character. So with that in mind, how on earth could we see another Iron Man come into play in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Well, it all comes from the multiverse, something that is going to become a huge focus of the MCU in the future and will likely be introduced to us either in WandaVision or the upcoming Doctor Strange movie, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. What this essentially means is that there is infinite possibilities for us. If you want to stop me during any point to talk about something, just do. Infinite possibilities for us to see different versions of the characters we love come into the movie from different versions of Earth. If Tom Cruise is playing Iron Man, it won't be the same character that we love from the MCU, but a Tony Stark from an entirely different Earth in a different multiverse. We've seen this rumor crop up at a lot, chiefly on something. But given the possibilities that the Marvel multiverse opens up the MCU, we see this as more just a possibility. As for the future of Tom Cruise as Iron Man, we expect this to be a cameo rather than anything else. We can't see Kevin Feige and the team at Marvel wanting to replace Robert Downey Jr. anytime soon. It also is the solution to the problem of needing someone to play Iron Man in a new film after Downey's retirement from the MCU. So, yeah, what do you make of this? Tom Cruise potentially becoming the new Iron Man.
You know, he was the first choice for Iron Man, like you were saying before Robert Downey Jr. I believe that he was the first choice of Jon Favreau's. I don't mind
scheduling conflicts that.
It was, for Mission Impossible. I think it was.
I think it's actually ingenious, and it's a brilliant on Kevin Feige's part to actually come up with this kind of strategy, because essentially what it means is that they're going to be beating DC to the punch at this. And DC essentially is going to be starting their own multiverse. And that's going to be really going to come into fruition in the Flashpoint movie. Now, the Flashpoint movie is now scheduled for 2022. However, the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is actually scheduled for 2021. So again, Kevin Feige, much like Civil War, is facing DC head-on in their multiverse. And what DC has been doing is obviously adding the old Batman to their new Flash movie, which I think is overstuffing it, to be honest. But now, given what Kevin Feige is doing, this is really, really forced DC's hand to now go full steam ahead with this multiverse idea and really, really show it. I mean, if they are able to get Tom Cruise as Iron Man, which everyone's going to go and see that movie just to see what he does, even if it's just a cameo.
This movie is gonna be absurd. It's gonna be nuts, and I'm so glad that we have Sam Raimi to helm this movie. I love Scott Derrickson. I do like him. He's
not Sam Raimi.
No, Sam Raimi is like what Quentin Tarantino is to me. Sam Raimi was before Quentin Tarantino, like as a writer, a director, filmmaker, producer, everything. But Sam Raimi was like, when I seen The Evil Dead for the first time, that movie just opened up my brain for so many things and just kind of like made things possible. I felt after.
Well, I really know him from the Spider-Man movies. I haven't seen The Evil Dead. No, I should, but like, I kind of it's always the practical effects and when it was made and stuff like that. It's always kind of like put me off a little bit, but I should watch it. Not that I'm against those kind of movies. It's more like the way it looks in that particular movie. It's really, really kind of cheap.
Yeah, that was the point.
It's not like The Thing or Aliens or something like that.
That was the whole point. He made and I'll keep this short so we're not going to go off topic, but he made that film Evil Dead off of the money he made off of a college film with Bruce Campbell and Ted Raimi and a couple friends. And they made that film, made enough money to make Evil Dead. Then they made Evil Dead. And then the film companies seen that and they were like, wow, this is crazy. And it became like a cult classic. A lot of people love that film. A lot of people love Sam Raimi. And then he made money off of Evil Dead to make Evil Dead 2. And Evil Dead 2 is really what he wanted to do the whole time. And from that moment on, he's just been a great director, a great writer, great producer. Everything he does, he's just like a golden goose laying eggs, like he.
Yeah, no, I have deep respect for him, and after seeing the Spider-Man movies, I did want to watch the Evil Dead. I just never really got around to it.
He's got plenty of other movies too. He's a great director, great writer.
Yeah, but I was going to say about Tom Cruise. What I really like about the casting there is I do think he could take over Iron Man. Really, I think. Oh
yeah, this is Tom Cruise we're talking about here.
Robert Downey Jr. He's a great character actor, but he's not a movie star. Iron Man makes him look like he's a movie star, but where he's really good is as a character actor. He's just a great, give Robert Downey Jr. anything, and he's very good at being himself, which is, because he's a very charismatic guy, but he can actually play really, really different characters, everything from Charlie Chaplin to, a number of other things. But where Tom Cruise has the kind of, it's an interesting pick for me, is I would rather than try and emulate Robert Downey Jr.'s kind of wit as Iron Man and, and Tom Cruise trying to, do the witty lines and stuff like that. I'd prefer to see Tom Cruise amp up the arrogance of Iron Man a lot more. So play the arrogant Iron Man, because in the comics, Iron Man isn't always like, with the quips and the funny lines, right? Nope. Like that's not essential to his character, but the arrogance kind of is, right? Like he's an arrogant guy.
He's a very arrogant person. Kind of so changed after Demon in a Bottle.
I can see Tom Cruise taking on the flawed aspects of Tony Stark, maybe even the alcoholism, the dark, the how would you say, the dark side.
Demon in a bottle,
and the demons within him, but also play up the arrogance and the playboy aspect of Tony Stark a lot more, right?
Yeah.
Rather than try and do the witty quips, really just play up the arrogant playboy, because that is what Tom Cruise is great at. Like he walks in the room and he's the best looking guy, the coolest guy, and there's something almost a little bit unlikable about Tom Cruise, but in a good way, right? Like when he's playing those arrogant pricks in films, he just does it so well. Like you don't like him, but you kind of have to respect him because
it's Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, right? And he's a talented actor. So that's my excitement. But they have a few more picks as well of people that they're thinking that might come into the multiverse. This is just by Grace Randolph spouting off stuff. And I want to remind everyone just to say, this is just a rumor at the moment. Take it with a pinch of salt. There is definitely interest by Kevin Feige to do this, but he hasn't, nobody signed anything or anything like that as of yet. At least that hasn't been reported. But what do you think
it's going to happen? I think it's going to happen, definitely, because it already almost happened, and really it was, like you're saying, it's scheduling conflicts. So, oh no, they're not really. Is that Joaquin Phoenix on there? No. Is that?
Well, that's what she's claiming. Like, oh, this would be an interesting
Jesus
thing for them to do.
Christ.
They're not getting
Yeah,
Joaquin Phoenix.
It'd be
He's
so
connected to Joker.
interesting. Come on. Oh shit. Things are gonna change after the Joker. I mean, things already have changed. His attitude, he's kind of like he's getting a little full of himself and the way he thinks. Like, you look at his interviews before Joker and then look at his interviews after Joker. He just seems to just seems a little bit full of himself now, of the success of films and the way people are talking about him. Yes, he's a great actor. Yeah, he's great in movies. He's a very good character actor. But I think because even towards the end of the film, that people that were making the film, cast and crew, were kind of like, he got really like demanding, really pushy with things.
I think he's always been like that. I think he's quite
he has
eccentric, Joaquin Phoenix. He even comments that he's been an asshole and stuff like that.
Yeah, right? Well, I'm not there. What was that film? I'm Not There. The one. I mean, you can see it. He really is. He has always been like that. I just think it's gotten a lot worse. To where
I haven't seen many interviews with him after, but I don't think they're getting him for to play an alternate version of Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. He was he was supposed to be Doctor Strange as well.
I'm so glad he didn't do that. That would have been a complete waste of his talents. I'm sorry, I don't even like the first Doctor Strange, but now I'm watching this in cinemas because if this multiverse thing is true, I've got to watch it. I'm sorry, but like him as Doctor Strange, the original. So basically, her theory is that they might try and cast all the original guys.
Yeah, that were supposed to play the actors.
Yeah, who were originally supposed to play these characters. So what do you think of that idea? Emily Blunt as Black Widow, an alternate version of Black Widow. I hope if they do Emily Blunt, she actually does the accent. That's the one thing that I would love.
You saying that just like makes a light switch turn on, because John Krasinski just had the meeting with Feige, and the rumor is that because of his film production company, that him and his wife's, and the success of that film they made, the horror film, and the sequel that is just coming out.
The silence ones, the one with the don't speak, or you know what I'm talking about, like where there's something in the grass and they can't speak or something like that.
Quiet Place.
Yeah, Quiet Place.
Yeah, well, I mean, he made that. That's his film company. That's his production company, and they're doing very well. They're doing very well. I believe that he wrote, directed, and produced that film. But he's been wanting to do this for a while, and now it's working. And that's why he didn't get cast as Doctor Strange. That's why he didn't take it. Or I'm sorry, why
Captain
America. Yes, I'm sorry. He wanted to pursue this, and he didn't that's why he didn't end up being Captain America. And so then, for years later down the road, he makes Quiet Place in 2018. So that was something people thought was not possible. They'd look at John Krasinski and be like, the guy from The Office. Yeah, right. Okay. So he makes the movies, and it goes well, even better than they expected. Now the sequel is going to be coming out, Quiet Place 2. He had the meeting with Feige. I believe this to be very, very true. He said that his wife and him did not wanted to do that, obligate themselves to that many films for Marvel, because that would mean they couldn't pursue his own projects. Yeah, his own projects. So you saying this makes a lot of sense, that maybe because Tom Cruise's deal is only supposed to be a few films, not the normal three to 5 to 6 films that Marvel locks the actors into. These multiverse editions are like 1 or 2 films.
I think what they could do, if these guys are really like not wanting to commit themselves, is do something along the lines of one adventure with these alt world versions of these characters. So tell me something. What would you rather? What's his name? Ted Kaczynski, or what's his name?
John Krasinski.
John Krasinski. Who would you rather play Captain America? John Krasinski or Alexander Skarsgård down in the I think it's right-hand border.
Neither. No, I don't want either one of them to. Captain America? No. Definitely not. The guy from Suicide Squad? Who's the second one? Alexander Skarsgård?
No, he's in. I'm trying to think what he's in. He's in Tarzan, but he's also a really good actor, though. I've seen him in something. He's a fantastic. Oh no,
he's a great actor. He
is.
So
I would really like to see him play Captain America. He's got a bit colder, a bit darker. Again, it would be interesting because it could be a bit of a darker, a bit of a colder version of Captain America.
Well, if they do that, you know that the way Feige works, that they're going to do the Hail Hydra, the real Hail Hydra multiverse Captain America that works for Hydra. You know, they're probably going to do that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, he could be a Hydra version of Captain America.
Yeah, he would.
That would be cool.
It would turn out that way more than likely if it's a multi. You're thinking if they want to expand that, they really, because of the COVID and because of all these things, we're having to make life changes. The theaters being closed, the films being pushed back, even later on. That means that Marvel is going to have to start concentrating on less films because they can't do. Things are going to start to fall apart. They're going to be broken. You know what I'm saying? They can't concentrate on 12 films that are going to run together when they can't put them out concurrent to each other. You know, you can't put out 12 films like 3 years apart. You know what I'm saying? 2 or 3 years apart, like have part one, then 3 years down the road, part two, then 3 years down the road. Nobody's going to stay involved. Nobody's going to care after a while, you know? They're going to get tired of waiting. So they need to concentrate on these few films, like maybe do 1 or 2. And that's why the whole contracts being shorter and like 1 or 2 films, maybe even 3 at the most. That's a really smart idea because they are.
You know what you just said about. Sorry, finish what you're saying. Finish.
Well, they need the television series, the cable shows, to be successful, to run concurrent with the films, to keep everything together. When they announced the phase with the streaming shows that they were really relying on, and that this is like, if that doesn't work, that means
they're pushing
down the road
back way.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Like, so if that's the case, then do not even make these right now. Wait till you can do it like they did it before, because we know how people are. Cancel culture. People want things now. You know, they're not going to want to wait for anything. They'll go watch something else. You know, they'll be like, okay.
But what I was going to say to you is, I think that this is kind of interesting from what you were saying about him being a Hydra agent. So I could see, you know, like a one-off what if movie with Tom Cruise, you know, under the banner of what if. So they could do like the animated show with the what if that they're doing now. You know, what ifs are like Elseworld comics, basically the what
I
if
know.
concept.
I have a bunch of what if comics.
I'm telling the viewers for the viewers.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking. Sorry.
Yeah. So what if is basically a comic that it takes something that is, you know, normal in you know, in so basically in Marvel comics, they used to do these one-off comics starring, like, say, Spider-Man or something like that. Except they'll say what if Eddie Brock was the one who became Spider-Man instead of Spider-Man, right? Instead of Peter Parker, right? So they used to do all of these one-off comics and they had just a whole great series of them. They were such good comics. They were my favorite line of comics. I used to buy so many of them, and I had quite a big stack. I think that was probably my biggest stack was What If comics. I always used to love them. And I didn't know that there were the Elseworld comics in DC at the time, because I was much more of a Marvel kid. Apart from like Batman, basically, when I was younger, I used to read Batman and the X-Men and Hulk and What If. This were that was my jam. And I rarely, pick anything outside of that. And Batman even was much less. It was much more the X-Men. Oh, I've got some comments. Hey, Evads, what's happening? I don't have Twitter, Evads, man. Evades, what's up? If you want to join the live stream, just click on the click on the link and you can join in, and we're discussing at the moment. Well, you know what we're discussing. Basically, Tom Cruise possibly joining the Marvel Universe.
I didn't know. What If comics ran from 2005 to 2019. They're still running. 2016 they went to 2016, then they took a break, and then they released What If Volume 13 in 2019. But yeah, they have some really, really incredible stories that are just great. And they're, like you said, they're always they did a few that were like 2 or 3 issues, but I love how they're just single issues with a new story. I just like that format.
Yeah, sorry, man. Yeah, no, I heard what you were saying. Yeah, no, yeah. So I get what you mean. But in terms of the what if they did a what if film where you just have all of these strange things, like Iron Man is an alcoholic, and he's a bad guy somehow, and Iron and Captain America is he's fully kind of embraced Hydra, and you find the origin of how he became the Hydra agent. I think you could do that, and that would be an excellent film for Tom Cruise and whatever to star in. And then you could have a kind of guest cameo by Robert Downey Jr. and the original cast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be great.
And I think you could probably make Black Widow like the hero or something of that story. And like she's trying to take down, find people to take down.
We do have the animated show coming. We do have the animated show.
Yeah, we have the animated show. But I'm saying you're not going to get Tom Cruise on an animated show, so you want to do something that, properly.
Yeah, I'm just saying we're getting the animated show, so if people don't know about it, then they can check the show out. Yeah, I mean, people are going to love it. We both know that people are going to really like the show.
Cool. Anyway, anything else to say about Tom Cruise?
Not really.
No. Last thing I want to talk about. So I'm going to split this again. But so thanks, guys, for watching. And we're going to just kind of split this episode. But please do give me a high five. And do like if you're enjoying the content. And make sure to comment. And we always enjoy... and we always will answer back to any comments that you have in the comment section, and subscribe for more content and discussions like this. So I'll see you in just a second. Peace, guys. Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. I am your host, the Nerd Man. With me today is
Super Zero.
And today we're in celebration of the Nolan movie Tenet. We're going to be discussing our top 5 Nolan movies, including Tenet, and see if it comes into the top 5. Have you seen Tenet? I didn't even ask you. I forgot to ask you. Have you seen it?
No, but unfortunately somebody spoiled the entire film for me, so I pretty much know everything I need to know. But I do want to see it. I need to experience it because I really want to see the reverse visuals. You know what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, then you know what I'll do. I'll just give a non-spoiler review, like very, very quickly.
No, you might have. Somebody already spoiled it for me, so it really doesn't matter. You're not spoiling anything I don't already know.
No, I know, but like I just don't want to, like, you know. And then we'll just talk about the top 5 Nolan movies, and I'll tell you where I put Tenet in my if Tenet comes in my top 5 and why. So yeah, I went to see Tenet, and I don't know if it was just because my expectations were lowered from what people had been saying about it. I have been seeing that I think that Nolan has been getting better and better, in my opinion. And I really, you know, I was really cold on movies like Inception and The Dark Knight Rises. And I was starting to think he was getting a little bit overrated by people. But it seemed that he learnt from his critics in the next movie, which wasn't great, but it was, you know, okay. I didn't watch Dunkirk because I just don't like war movies, and I want to watch it. I was looking for it to do it before this episode, so that I could, you know, have all his movies in mind. But in the end, I didn't get to watch it. So I'm basing this off every movie I've seen apart from Dunkirk. But you know, I heard the same thing happen where it was a very cold film, and that's my main criticism of him. He knows how to write complex narratives, but he doesn't know how to write characters, especially emotionally engaging characters. But I'm happy to say that I did think that that this movie gave some rather engaging characters. And it really showed me a new vision of how Nolan really could take on the James Bond franchise, and that was very exciting for me. I loved the fighting technique of the main character, which is simply called the protagonist. And I liked how vulnerable he was as an action hero as well. There's a very kind of realistic, down-to-earth, much more grounded than even something like Inception in terms of the action, but yet still really, really, really imaginative and visually spectacular what it does with the action scenes, and going in reverse and going forward as well. And it really takes that advantage of that onomatopoeia kind of theme that is built from the actual film being called Tenet, where the word is the same way round, backwards and forwards. So the film really does play off that theme very well. And I don't want to go into it so much, but I have to say Robert Pattinson was a delight to watch. Wasn't his best performance I've seen to date. You know, I whenever he was on, he was interesting, he was compelling. You know, he was really at the heart of the movie in a lot of ways. And David Washington, who you know, is has been really the beneficiary of nepotism, being that he is Denzel Washington's son. Actually comes out and proves himself quite a bit in this film. I think he was quite a charismatic lead. He had good chemistry with the lead actress as well. And I have to give a shout out to Kenneth Branagh as well. Kenneth Branagh did a fantastic job here as the villain. I'm not going to spoil too much about what he does or his villain plot, but needless to say, he plays a kind of nihilistic villain with a very strange kind of philosophy on time itself. And what I do love about this is a lot of people have been talking about the jargon in this film and how it's very, very difficult to follow. And to me, it makes me really understand why people weren't able to follow Batman v Superman and the kind of philosophical references in that, because I didn't find this film difficult to follow at all. Sure, I'm not going to pretend I understood all the physics behind it, but I don't think you really needed to. But I will say the basic concepts of physics that I'm aware of in terms of quantum mechanics and the quantum realm and the indeterminacy of the quantum realm versus the causal nature of the reality that we perceive as human beings was explained well. The difference between those two worlds and the way that time was being played upon within this, and also even the explanation for the grand plan of the villain, which involved a very remedial knowledge of certain physics ideas, basically. So, as I said, it was a complicated. The physics behind it was supposedly complicated, but it was explained well enough that if you have even a small knowledge of physics, if you've ever picked up, a history of time or something like that, or you've ever kind of been curious about Einstein's relativity theory or anything about quantum physics, or even if you've just watched films about alternate, time travel or alternate universes, this movie shouldn't be too difficult for you to follow. So basically, that was my review of the movie. I thought it was excellent. I thought it was an improvement on Nolan's past movies. But we'll talk about exactly where I see it in his top 5 movies. So I'll say I would give this a strong B, a B grade for a movie. Was there any flaws in the movie? What were the flaws, if any, I saw in the movie? I think there could have been a little bit more. I don't know. There could have been a little bit more hand-to-hand action, because the way that the David Washington fought as a character, I thought was very exciting, and I would have liked to see a little bit more of that. As I said, it was a very interesting take on the James Bond narrative, and it shows me kind of what Nolan could do with the James Bond. But that was kind of a bit of a selfish, if you want to say that, desire to see more of that in the film. And also, Nolan still does need some improvement on his on developing characters that really have an emotional resonance. But I'm telling you, it's 1,000 times better than what I've seen in some of his movies. And I'll leave it at that, because I want to talk about it in my top 5. So B as a movie.
Good to hear.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Pleasantly surprised, because people were telling me it was bad. A lot of, obviously there was some reviewers that I respect that were telling me it was bad, and a few of my friends who I was like, "Oh, come with me to see Tenet," they were like, "I've already seen it. It wasn't that great." So I don't know what you'll think about it. I'll be interested to see what you think about it when you see it.
I can't wait to see it, because I love Christopher Nolan's style. He's just very good. But I also love, is it his brother, Jonathan Nolan?
Jonathan Nolan is.
Yeah.
I think Jonathan Nolan is potentially better than they need to do something together, man, because that fucking last season of What was that show called?
Fringe? Was it Fringe? Did he write Fringe?
No. The last season of this show that he was doing. I'm gonna remember it in a second.
I need to check out Dunkirk myself as well. I still haven't watched it. I have it on my hard drive, but
Westworld. I just remembered it as I was saying it.
oh yeah,
So,
he's amazing. Yeah, that's a good show. Very good.
really good show. Oh,
That's
he's written basically all the
almost all of it.
favorite movies of Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, that's
It
why I'm
seems.
saying he's pretty much. I kind of would like to see what he can do by himself. Like, maybe try directing. I'm sure Christopher Nolan would produce it, you know? I mean, they do everything together. I would just like to see what he has to offer by himself, because I like other people think that he is like he's the good writer out of all of them. Like you're saying, Christopher Nolan does kind of struggle with character development. Like with Memento, when he keeps things kind of small, then he's good. But there's not a lot. The idea of Memento seems big, but it really isn't. It's a pretty contained film, you know, like.
Oh, he wrote the short story that Memento was based on,
Yes.
right? And then The Prestige, he wrote.
Yes, the Prestige.
He wrote the Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises,
Yep,
Interstellar,
the
and he's of course done Westworld, which is just brilliant.
Westworld
I
is
only
amazing.
saw the third season, but the third season is just fucking incredible. And
do yourself a favor and watch the first one. Watch the first one; it's amazing.
I will do. I will catch up on that. I kind of just wasn't that interested in the Western elements of it because I'm not a big Western guy. I know it was all sci-fi and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was much more interested in the revolution.
Samurai and the revolution, because
that bit interested me, so I just skipped to the third season once I saw what was going on with that, and then I saw it had two of my favorite actors, the guy who plays Pinkman
Jeffrey Wright
in
or
not Jeffrey Wright. My guy plays Pinkman in Breaking Bad, and then
Jesse Pinkman.
Yeah, and then also Frank Castal, the French actor, was playing the bad guy.
Oh my god, yeah. What? Now I'm gonna have to look at Westworld because there's so many good actors and actresses in it. Vincent Cassel. Yeah,
I love him. I was always hoping DC would snap him up for like some kind of character because I just think he's so great. But I don't think he likes comic book movies. I think he hates them. That's what I heard.
Vincent Cassel's he's very, very selective. He does a lot of independent films, a lot of like projects and stuff.
But he was pretty brilliant in this. I mean,
if you want to see a great film with Vincent Cassel, I think Shaitan. It's crazy, but that's one of his earlier films. And then Irreversible is like one of my favorites that he's in. That's a very, very good film.
So okay, look, let's get down to business. So, top 5 Nolan movies. Do you want a minute, just to a couple of seconds, or can you think? I want you to start off. You can just give your top 5.
I know my top 5. Yeah. My number 5 would be Memento. That's one of my. I do like that film a lot. Do you want? Okay. Are we just gonna give all 5 of them, or are we gonna do like we did before?
Do it like we did before. So, why do you like Memento?
I just like the whole where the beginning of the film. It's a mystery right away. That hasn't like. It's very like quick film. It's a very, one thing leads to another, it leads to another, it leads to another. And then you think you don't have everything figured out, and you really don't, because there's another thing and another thing, and it just keeps going and going and going. It's like kind of like a domino effect. Once you start figuring out the clues, and I just like how it leads backwards. But I think that backwards plot kind of became a trend with some directors and writers, where they would.
Well, to be fair, it was really Quentin Tarantino that brought that to
with
being a
Reservoir
kind
Dogs.
of narrative. Like, it became like a fashionable thing with Tarantino.
Yeah.
And then you saw little different versions of directors doing versions of that.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
I think I saw Memento first, and that's why I'm making that comparison.
Do you know what? I'm looking now at the IMDb, and I think I might agree with you that that Memento. I'm not sure it breaks into my top 5. I think it might be top 5 though. Memento.
Do you think Memento goes with Tenet? Are they in the same universe, or do they have something to do with each other? There's a lot of people that are saying they do.
No. I mean, I could see why people would say that, like, because of moving backwards and backwards and forwards, and the movie kind of ends up, connecting. The story going forward and the story going backwards ends up connecting right at the end of the movie. Okay. So in that sense, oh fuck, I've just given away a huge spoiler, haven't I?
That's all right. That's all right. I know what happens. So
in that sense, the movies are connected. Yeah, definitely. But I don't know if Memento. I'm gonna have to leave Memento out for the moment. But I will say this: I think that Memento for me is one of those films that was very formative for me, where I saw it when I was very young, and I kept watching it again and again and again, because I was just like, I thought it was extraordinary. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen the film in years now.
Yeah, neither have I.
I used to watch it a lot, and I remember it very, very clearly. And the performances are great. I love Teddy. Whoever plays Teddy in that movie, I thought was just a great character. And Carrie-Anne Moss, I believe, is in that from The Matrix.
Yeah.
And she plays a great femme fatale. But what it is it's just a really good neo-noir detective story that plays on those tropes so well. But at the same time, uses this temporal, this how would you say, like messing up the kind of temporal sequence of events in the film, really gives it that aspect of the detective story where you're along as a detective in the story.
Yeah, so it's unraveling. You're unraveling it.
Yeah, I think it's the best film for putting you in the shoes of the hard-boiled detective, trying to find out, what happened in a case that's both connected to him, but is connected to something else as well. You're unraveling that mystery, both mysteries at the same time. And yeah, it's a fantastic film. Although I always think the protagonist is pretty thick because he doesn't have a memory. His memory lasts so short. You're just like, this guy's basically a little bit, mentally handicapped.
He's
Well, he's definitely mentally handicapped, but I mean, you can't be that smart if you can only remember. For how long was it? Was it a day or something, and then he loses his memory? Is it every 4 hours or something like that?
I can't remember exactly how much time goes by, but it's it's like a really quick Groundhog's Day film to me, because I love how he figures everything out, and the outcome. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Okay, so what about like our number 5? Let's see for our number 5 movie. So my number 5, I think I'm gonna put my number 5 as. It's so hard.
Yeah, he doesn't really have that many films.
I know my top 3.
Yeah,
I know my top 3.
That's easy for me.
So I think I'm gonna put my number 5 as. I think you're right. I think it's Memento. It is. It's Memento. 5 is Memento. So I'll tell you my number 4 then.
Okay.
My number 4 is Interstellar.
Yeah, that's my number 4.
Only joke. Really? No,
Yeah.
I'm only joking. I was joking.
Oh, really? Oh, gosh. Okay.
No. It's my my number 4 is actually my number 4 is Tenet.
Okay.
Number 4 is Tenet. I'm very shocked by this, but yeah, I just think it's a really, really good riff on the James Bond movie, but with the time bending twist. So I think it's his most like appropriate. And what's interesting is he makes me actually feel there could be a black James Bond. When I was watching this film, I was like, oh, could work actually. Yeah. But also it gave you a really classic new take on Bond. Basically he could go either way with Bond. He could have a black Bond, or he could have the really classic kind of Bond, but with a really different twist where he's got a little bit more sensitivity and a little bit more heart, which is played by the what's his name, Batman, Robert Pattinson in the movie. So yeah. Robert Pattinson plays a more vulnerable, more like has more heart, character with a mysterious secret. And he's great as a new kind of Bond, really different from the Daniel Craig Bond. So I could see that as a potentially a Bond character. But David Washington also plays this a little bit more of the the Bond that we've been used to in this recent but the Daniel Craig Bond, but instead of him being just strong and buff and the kind of rugged, he's rugged but in a completely different way. He's more smart with it. He's more aware of his environment, using things. But he reminds me of the Sean Connery Bond, who would get in a scrap, know what he's doing, be able to use his environment around him, but he'd barely get out of the fight as well, right? Like he really, really is struggling to survive the fight as well, and he's also super vulnerable, and that's what I loved about Casino Royale. So I really liked that aspect of the film, and I thought the performances were all good. Maybe the film characters were a little bit cold, and maybe the relationships wouldn't have worked if it weren't for the actors. The actors put a tremendous amount of heart and emotion and believability into these characters, and I think it goes to show, and I can probably know why you like Interstellar so much, because it goes to show since Nolan perhaps is weaker at bringing out the emotions in characters, sometimes it's good for him to go to actors who can do that for him. Right, and I think Matthew McConaughey, right, turned a very, very cold, ice cold, scientific, film into something very heartfelt, because McConaughey can pretty much do anything,
Any range,
when it comes to emotion like that. He's such a cool dude that it's like he can't be cold, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my take on why that's number 4.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can really say anything about it since you haven't seen it.
No, I can't really. I just want to see it. Soon I'm gonna see it.
So what then is your
well, Interstellar was my favorite, number 4. I just like Interstellar. I just like the whole plot. I like seeing Michael Caine come back. I like the ending. I just like the film. It was good. And it was good to see him do something a little bit different than, his normal films. When he had the sci-fi aspect, I like that because there's always these little sci-fi kind of like influences. You can see him in almost all of his films, except pretty much Batman, any of the Dark Knight Rises or the Batman films. Pretty much, there is little science fiction elements everywhere, and I just love it. I do like one other film more than
Dr. Man.
that. Yeah,
I like Dr. Man in that. I thought that was pretty clever.
I like
Dr. Man in the film where they find him and he's. Do you not remember that?
Yeah, you're talking. Wait, Dr. Man.
The astronaut.
Yeah, the Russian guy, right?
No.
Is he Russian? Or
he's American, isn't he? It's played by Matt Damon.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah, that is, and that's.
Yeah.
I was thinking The Martian when you said Matt Damon.
No, he's in The Martian as well, but he's in Interstellar. He loves his space stuff.
That's right. You're totally right.
He's crazy about doing astronaut fucking stuff. I think he just likes it because he's like such a nerd. Like he's a like Harvard educated kid. He probably understands all the science and stuff.
Who did you say?
Matt Damon.
Matt
He just
Damon?
loves doing his boring space odyssey. Like he probably would have wanted to be in 2001: A Space Odyssey if he could have been. But I like this film. It doesn't break my top 5, and it's only because I feel that it has the same problems as a lot of Nolan movies. There's a little bit of it's a little bit too cold for me. And the thing that warms it up, the sole thing that warms it up, is Matthew McConaughey. And also that ending with the love stuff. It's not as bad as people make out how love connects or something like that. It's not as bad as people make out, but at the same time, it is a little bit hokey. And I'm not sure I buy that as an ending to the film. But I liked it. I didn't have the problem with. I thought it was better than Inception, personally. But I don't know if that's on your list, so I won't go into it that much. But what's next on your list?
Inception.
Okay, go on.
And everything about that film, I love. I love everything about it. Every actor, everything. And to me, that's
I'm
like.
gonna watch it again.
That's like
gonna watch it again.
To me, that's really James. That's like James Bond, but with sci-fi and with like a crazy Matrix twist, kind of, I guess, but not really Matrix. But I love everything about it, and I just think that was kind of like the actors are really comfortable in their roles. Everybody just fits right in. I can't really think of a better film that somebody gets a group of all those actors together and everybody just plays so well off of everybody in that kind of film. That's kind of complicated.
What I didn't like, I'm not going to diss it too much, but I think it's very exposition-y, the movie. It's got a lot of exposition rather than people talking to each other like they normally talk to each other.
It's visually.
I think the dream levels get a bit like weird after a while.
Yeah.
I don't feel emotionally attached to the characters. That's the problem I have with that film, and it's the problem I have with a lot of Nolan movies.
Yeah, some of his characters are really wooden.
Yeah,
you're completely right. Like they're just they seem dull, but it's not like boring dull. It's just kind of like you're saying, one dimensional. They're just pretty much.
Well, they're just there to explain the plot.
Yeah, for exposition. Yeah.
And I think in that movie they do it probably more than any Nolan movie I've seen. So I don't know how much I like that movie, but I do. I need to watch it again. I've seen it twice. It's one of my less favorite. I'm sorry, Nolan movie.
All right, don't apologize.
It's not fair of me to really say, because at the same time I haven't seen
it.
I don't like criticizing a movie that I haven't seen probably more than twice, like because you get it wrong, especially I should give Nolan the benefit of the doubt, given how good a director he is, that maybe certain things went over my head as opposed to that it's a bad film, considering so many people like it. I would think I'm wrong if so many people like a film, unless it's Man of Steel. When people like a film and I don't like it, I usually think it's because I'm wrong. And there's something that I don't like the genre, or I don't like, but I do like the genre of Inception, so it's not that, or there's something I'm not getting. So that's usually what I think. And I always give those films another chance. So my number 3 is The Dark Knight.
All right.
What to say that hasn't been said about this film already? I just think it's a comic book cinematic masterpiece.
Yes.
In terms of comic book movies, absolutely the height of what a comic book movie has achieved. And I think the thing that really sells it for me, and I guess I'm going to say this, but then I'm going to contradict myself when I say my number 2. But I think the thing that really sold this series for me is that you have the equal strength of a good DC hero versus a good DC villain. And really broadening out the idea of the comic character, so that you give like this psychological realism and grounding to that character. I don't believe it's a dark or gritty movie at all. I think it's very slick and very sharp. If anything, there's not anything gritty or dirty or grimy about The Dark Knight. It's a sophisticated crime drama, and I think they overstate that a little bit, because really at the core it is just a fantastical superhero movie, which is what I love about it. But there's a crime drama that is slick, sophisticated, and whatever at the center of it. And then there's the characters that are given that grounded psychological realism. And there have been efforts towards doing that in more recent films, like
they just can't
Wonder Woman. No, I don't think they can't do it. I think they don't believe in themselves. I think Wonder Woman came very, very close.
Yeah.
I think what else? I think Shazam in some ways came close, but in a very different way, not in terms of
family-friendly way.
Well, in terms of taking the comic character and taking the comic and putting it on screen in a way, like taking the actual comic and really putting it to screen, and not shying away from any aspects of it, so I thought that was good. But and the characters were fleshed out like in some ways, but not anywhere near as well as Nolan's movie. Wonder Woman maybe, but not Shazam. And I'm trying to think what else. But there were others. I can't think of them right now. Maybe even parts of Iron Man, but none has done it with the level of balance between the villain and the hero. And I think that's what all three of those films are missing. It's that balance of doing that between the hero and the villain. And in fact, probably the best one that has, come closest, and I would rate this as equal to these movies, is actually Casino Royale, James Bond.
Okay, so did the same cinematographer for the Dark Knight, or Dark Knight, is it the Dark Knight, do Casino Royale? I'm
not sure. I don't think so, though.
I actually, yeah, I think it's the same cinematographer, because I haven't seen Casino Royale, and I haven't seen the one after that, but I've seen all the other ones, the newer ones. But I need to see the first two. I really do. But I believe that the cinematographer for Christopher Nolan is the guy that did either Casino Royale or the one after it. I think it's the one where it starts out and James Bond is doing parkour. They're like way up in the sky. Is that Casino Royale?
That is Casino Royale.
Okay, I think, yeah, I believe it is
the best James Bond movie ever.
Well, I gotta look. If you say that, I gotta watch it then. I've been slacking on it just because it's.
Oh, you've never seen Casino Royale? It's no. Basically it's the closest thing to taking an iconic hero from comics or media and giving them a realistic spin. Like without taking away the fundamentals from the character, right? Without sacrificing anything that's fundamental to James Bond. All they do is flesh out and give James Bond a kind of more psychological realism and give his supporting cast more groundedness as well. So it does exactly the same thing as The Dark Knight, and of course a next movie that I'll be discussing later. So yeah, I think that those are the true heirs, children of The Dark Knight, are those movies.
Very cool. I got to check it out then. I really do.
Yeah. So that's my whole thing. What do you think of The Dark Knight? I mean, obviously I've talked about the balance between the villain and the hero.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. Is
that going to come next in your list, or?
That's the second Dark Knight film.
But don't tell me where it comes. Don't tell me where it comes. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah. So what are you? Wait. Is your next film The Dark Knight? No.
Number
don't tell
2?
me where it comes. Yeah. Is it The Dark Knight?
My next.
Oh, it is The Dark Knight. Okay, yeah. So then you can talk about it. Go on.
Yeah, I just love it. I mean, there's what bad thing can we say about the film except Heath Ledger's not around anymore? That's like the only bad thing we can say about the film, really.
Oh, I can say a few bad things. There's reasons why this is my third movie rather than my top movie, and one of the reasons is I really think the recasting of the Rachel Dawes character didn't work.
Yeah, that pissed me off. Any recasting, really. If a film works, and then you're like, oh, we made so much money off this film. It did so well. The actors did such a great job. The story kept itself together. And then you go to the next one and you recast an actor. Like, come on. Work with your actors if she needed some time to keep it going, then give her the time she needs, because that movie is going to be good anyways. She was decent. As I didn't like the change that they did. It really irritated me.
I thought it took all the emotional weight out of her death. And I have to say, one of the things, this is one of the movies where I started seeing Nolan doing a lot more exposition, characters talking about their philosophies rather than talking, as human beings between each other.
I think he kind of needed to, though.
I don't think it needed to as much as it did. I think there could have been spaces where, everything the Joker said was talking about a philosophy. It was just because of the performance of Heath Ledger that it worked.
Yeah.
And then, it was kind of similar with the rest of the characters as well, talking in terms of iconic speeches rather than, talking as human beings, having a discussion with each other. But again, Nolan is able to do that so brilliantly and so well in comparison with other people who tried to do it, looking at you, Zack Snyder, that it kind of works. So then there's the other criticism I have, which is Aaron Eckhart's Two-Face. I think he did a great job. I actually used to think that he was pretty bad in the role, but rewatching The Dark Knight more recently, I realized I was a little bit unfair on him. He was very, very good as playing the DA, all the way up until the time he turns into Two-Face. And then I think it's a really, really by the numbers. He doesn't change that much. He doesn't, embrace the duality of Two-Face at all. Nothing is done to explore that character. The film is so focused on the Joker that you might as well have just saved the transformation right till the end of the movie and had him turn up in the third movie. Two-Face be the villain of the third movie was maybe somebody else, but him being the secondary villain just didn't quite work for me. So that whole plot line, plus the Rachel stuff, plus the overuse, I think, of exposition rather than natural dialogue. The good thing about the exposition in this is that it was explaining what the characters were feeling inside or their philosophies of life, rather than explaining the plot like in Inception. In Inception, the exposition was explaining the plot. In this, it was kind of like a meta discussion of what was happening in the film. That was what the exposition was about, and what the Joker was talking about. But again, the performances were so strong that was almost hidden. I didn't feel a lot of emotion towards this film either. I just kept thinking, "Oh, that's cool." You know what I mean? "Oh, that's fucking cool. That bit's awesome." But I didn't feel anything for that. I didn't feel like for Batman. I didn't feel for the Joker. I didn't really care what happened to either of them in the end. I didn't care if the Joker won or Batman won. I wasn't on anyone's side really. I mean, if anything, the only emotional attachment I had was to how good the performance by Heath Ledger was. So maybe in that sense, it's like I care a little bit about what happens to Joker, but I don't know if you understand what I mean, but like I wasn't
No, I do.
engaged where I was like, "Oh my God, what's going to happen?" I feel fear for this person because I care about them, right? None of that was in the film. So those were the main flaws for me of that film.
No, those are some good points that you make. Yeah, I like some of the points. I do not like that didn't ruin the film at all, though I really didn't like Aaron Eckhart when he was in the hospital, because it was just like you are right. It's like you can tell he's acting, and it's not really good acting. It's just like he's just reading the lines off, like, you know, it's kind of like he's playing off of Ledger, and you can't even come close to that acting, you know. Yeah. but he was just there. That's the only thing that I really. Yeah, I just
because
I think that's the only thing. Yeah,
because definitely, it's such a big role in the movie, and you'd think that with such a big role, he would choose somebody who could really match up to the gravitas of, you know, two titans, you know, on either side, which was Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne and you know, Jared Leto as the Joker. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I'm sure you got that one.
Oh no.
No, Heath Ledger as the Joker. I wanted to see if you were awake.
We can't. I dropped some paint that, like, for my models and stuff. That's what I was just picking up.
No, okay. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, so you're right. I think that he didn't live up to it. But I don't think he was bad. I just think they could have elevated the caliber of actor. I mean, what's he doing now? What's that guy who played Two-Face even doing?
Aaron Eckhart?
Yeah,
I don't know.
He's not in much, is he? He's like he's a really secondary. Like, he could have been in the film, but not as a main guy. You know what I mean? Like, you get like big actors, big name actors for a role like Two-Face, right?
It was just like, man, I don't know. I just can't see anything other than Ledger as the Joker that to where someone else doing the Joker, it's like, you better be doing your own thing, because I just see you kind of trying to copy or emulate that Joker in a way, like mannerisms or.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't trying to. I'll give him that. He wasn't trying to emulate the Joker. You think Aaron Eckhart was trying to?
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when Jared Leto did the Joker, or when someone else does the Joker. I just don't think you can top like Ledger doing the Joker, and then we have Aaron Eckhart, you know, and he wasn't really good after. Like, you're completely right. The courtroom stuff is good in there, you know, that's good. But when he gets burnt and he's in the hospital, it's just like he's just reading the lines. That's what I feel like. He's just like, you know, he's not. There's no chemistry between those two in that scene. Really,
he should have got Edward Norton to do it.
That would have been different.
And he would have. You get Edward Norton to play the DA. I think that would have been. I
think Edward Norton kind of would try to take over her too. You know, he would just try and have so much say. I mean, he like admits to being that way. And he likes. I
don't think he'd do that. I don't think he'd do that with a Nolan movie, though. I think he does that with people that are lesser directors than him. No, I don't think he'd do that. He knows Nolan is a master. He's never done that. When he's worked in a film where he's working with a master, he doesn't do that. He does that when he's working with people who are directors who are unknowns or you know, like, not really big names. He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't dare do that with Nolan. I'm telling you. Like, he did that basically on the Marvel movie with fucking Kevin Feige and some other guy. I can't remember. He
wanted to rewrite the entire film, and like then he wanted it
because it was a shit script.
But it was a shit script. After he rewrote it, it was just a shit script from the start. You know,
it wasn't a shit script, dude.
I don't really like it, but
go and watch the deleted scenes of The Incredible Hulk. It wasn't a shit script. He wrote a decent script. It wasn't a great script, but he wrote a better script than what was in the theatrical version of the film.
I think I just don't really like his attitude anymore, and it's kind of like played out. But he is a very good producer, a very good writer, a very good director. He's a really good dramatic. Like, he does very good drama stuff. But
What are you talking about? Are we talking about Edward Norton?
Yes, I am. I'm talking about
You
Edward
don't
Norton.
like his attitude. From what?
I don't like his attitude. He thinks he's better than everybody else. Really, he's arrogant. And
Where
it
did
like
you see that?
once you like kind of rub him the wrong way, you're fucked, dude, and you're done. There's like you don't exist anymore. He's better than you in every way. I can write better than you. I can direct better than you. I can read the room better than you. Dude is so full of himself. He practically shits out of his own mouth. But from a lot of interviews, I mean, pretty much everything after that Marvel film, you're correct. Everything after the Marvel film, once he actually got his hands on a script like from Marvel for a huge company that he could like really do whatever. If he would have succeeded, then like I don't know, he might act like I don't know. It's funny you say that because I actually all day yesterday I was watching when videos about when actors get called out by other actors or by reporters or interviewers or whatever, and like there were so many Edward Norton videos, and like he had the most videos, and it was just like if
I
you
don't.
just
I just don't. I don't agree. Like I don't think he's particularly arrogant. I think he's. I know what you're saying. I know he's got a reputation, but the reputation really came from Marvel. Marvel really fucked him over.
an admitted reputation. An admitted when he comes out and says, "Yeah, I know I'm this way," that right there tells me that he's that way. It doesn't matter what happened with Marvel. That's why I'm saying if you rub him the wrong way, like if you said something he wouldn't like, he'd be like, "Oh, I don't think so," and he would tell you how it is. You wouldn't. There would be no conversation. There would be nothing. That's like from rubbing him the wrong way. Say something he doesn't like.
You see this? When did you see this
Sure.
of him? I'm just curious. I'm genuinely curious because I don't know the Edward Norton. Sorry, guys, about this. This is a kind of little side note about Edward Norton, but I've never seen. All I know is that he basically has come in and wanted to rewrite some scripts.
He wanted to rewrite parts of the script. Kevin or whoever was like, "Yes, you can." They were like, "Yeah, you can." He wanted to give notes for things his character would say. He wanted to do whatever. Then he rewrote the whole fucking script. Like he's just like, "Oh, I didn't like it. I'll rewrite it." I did not like the script before and after.
That was part of his contract for that film. It was part of his contract. It's part of why he agreed to do it, because he thought when he read the Incredible Hulk script that it wasn't good. So he wanted to rewrite the script because he was a fan of Bill Bixby's Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I know. He said all that shit in these when he got rubbed the wrong way.
I believe him because I'm a big fan of Bill Bixby's Incredible Hulk, and I listened to him, and I recognize the telltale sign. And I can imagine because he's an actor, he probably he liked comic book films or whatever. He likes The Dark Knight. No. Listen to me, because I've listened to what you're saying, and I kind of understand where you're coming from. But he looked at the Bill Bixby show, and Bill Bixby had one of the great performances of a superhero, right? Mm-hmm. Like in the Incredible Hulk show. It's an incredibly underrated performance. So I can imagine thespian Edward Norton, right? He's just seen The Dark Knight. His mind's been blown at the possibilities of the dramatic potential of superhero movies. And then he's thinking back. Then he gets all these offers for, movies, because he was the big shit back then. And he's getting all these offers for movies. And he's thinking, oh, what superhero movie could I take in a kind of dark, interesting route like The Dark Knight? And his thing is, oh, that Bill Bixby show, incredible, because they offered him the Incredible Hulk. And he's thinking, when he's thinking about it, he probably didn't read the comics. Let's be honest. He's probably like too busy reading Shakespeare and all of that bullshit, right? So he basically, his idea of the Incredible Hulk, that Bill Bixby show, and that performance that he admired in the show, which was quite dark and, you know, brooding and whatever. And he's probably thinking, oh, I can do a Dark Knight out of that. I could make, you know, something along those lines. So when he sees this script, he's like, I don't like this. And he told Kevin Feige what he wants to make. He wants to make a Dark Knight-ish kind of film. Obviously not foreseeing the potential of the Avengers and whatever. That was his stupidity, right? And then, so Edward Norton, Kevin Feige goes, yeah, I agree. You can do it. You can rewrite the script. You will have final say on the script and what goes in. And he agrees to do it on the basis of that. Kevin Feige now turns around when you know, he sees the film, recuts it into the shit movie that it is. So he basically pulled the Jeff Johns, a Justice League Jeff Johns, on the Incredible Hulk movie, because he didn't want it to be too cerebral like the former movie.
See, I mean,
that is what happened, and that's where they had a dispute. And this is where Edward Norton was truly unprofessional.
Yes, he got a piss poor attitude from that moment on till now, still to this day. He's still
he doesn't. Like, he doesn't. When did he have a piss poor attitude? I know what you saw. I bet you saw him doing a roast of Bruce Willis.
No, that was one part of, like I just said, there were multiple videos. There's like fucking 16 minutes of him just being so full of himself and arrogant. The roast, that's a roast. That's the point of a roast, to fucking roast people, to lay into them, but you really the person.
I want to see, you've got to show me this link to this 16 minutes of Edward Norton like being an asshole, because I really don't see him like that. I think he's too much of a thespian for Hollywood, basically.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
He's too much of a thespian. He's too much of an artist.
I don't know. Anytime anybody gets an attitude like that, I just kind of like, I don't like it.
But
I don't like it.
He only did it on that movie. He's had this reputation from that movie in American History X. He's never done that on another movie. He's never asked to rewrite a script for any other movie apart from American History X, where the director wanted to end the film with him shaving his head again, which he couldn't do. I mean, imagine what kind of message would that film have had if Edward Norton shaves his head to become a Nazi again at the end of the movie. That's what the director wanted to do.
No. I love that film. I know. I don't know. He's the reason why that film did so good. I mean, I'm not saying
he didn't try and rewrite the script. All he did was he said that I'm not having an ending where I shave my head again and become a Nazi. That's crazy. How can you have that at the end of the story?
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. You go through the whole movie showing how someone can change, and he's gonna fucking change again after all this. Right. It doesn't make any sense. He
was right. And with Kevin Feige had the whole big plan in his head, right? And Edward Norton was just looking narrowly of wanting to make a good movie. He didn't know or understand how big like this Avengers plan was, right? So he was just trying to make a good fucking movie. He wanted to make, it to be, he saw what Nolan did and he was just like, oh, the Incredible Hulk could kind of be like that because it's dark, it's broody, it's gritty. And they just weren't looking to make that Hulk. They were looking to make a Hulk that was kid-friendly, that you could do with toys, and they lied to Edward Norton, basically. And what he did, which was unprofessional, was basically say, well, screw you, I'm not doing the press for this movie then. And that's when people started worrying about the movie, and that's why it didn't do as well as it should have. And it was stupid of him to have done that. And I admit that. But Kevin Feige also has a big problem with actors. You know, he had a big problem with a number of different actors, not just Edward Norton. He had a big problem with Terrence, you know, whatever his name was from Iron Man 1. He had a big problem with the guy from Iron Man 2, what's his name?
I mean, he has a god complex. Really,
basically the guy who played Whiplash. He's an asshole. Kevin Feige is a fucking asshole. He has a problem with directors who with their own visions. So he's fired multiple directors because of creative differences. So, you know, even the guy who's doing Doctor Strange, right, and the Multiverse of Madness, parted ways because of creative differences. You know, when he showed him up on stage. So Kevin Feige is a bit of a fucking dictator, and he's an asshole, and that's why the Marvel universe works so well, right? And I'm not taking anything away from him. I think he's achieved a magnificent amount by being an asshole, which is exactly why, you know, someone like Ray Fisher needs to shut his fucking mouth, right? Because if anything, DC needed a dictator who knew DC material, and that was Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns was the best guy, I think, to oversee the DC universe, because he's the only guy who was like a Batman fanboy.
He's the only person that can do it. Anyways, that's like, you know, he has the experience, he has the comic experience, the writing experience. You know, he's been around. So yeah, I mean, we owe him a lot as well, you know, like, and yeah, you give someone that much power, they eventually are going to become kind of abrasive. Once you disagree, you fucking tell them, they say, oh, it's 90 degrees. You say, no, it's not. It's 84. They're like, no, fuck no. You know, it doesn't work. You have to, plus he's the head of it, right? Like, isn't he the head of everything? So pretty much, even if you say anything, he's gonna, if he doesn't like it, it's no. It's even if there's, like, say you and I are producers, he doesn't give a shit. What he says goes. He doesn't need our money. He'll go get it from somewhere else. You know, like, it's his way or no way. I get what you're saying, but I think Marvel has done a very good job of making Edward Norton look like more of an asshole than he is. Edward Norton has problems, but it's not being an arrogant asshole. He's too much of an artist. He's too passionate about these kind of things, and he doesn't think enough from a business perspective. And he's harmed his own career. Yeah, that's why I'm saying
because of that.
He's over passionate. Like, I have the same problem with. I mean, I think everybody probably has the same problem when you get on something you really believe in, or something you really want to do, or, you know, you want to achieve something.
Well, yeah, but you have to have a business sense about you as well. And his people, whoever they are, you know, deserve to. They were looking after perhaps the greatest actor of his generation, and he isn't anymore. And it's sad, you know, to see a guy with that much potential.
He can change that, though. I mean, he's got his own production.
I don't think he's as good an actor anymore, because you need to flex your muscles as an actor. You need to continue flexing your muscles as an actor. Otherwise, I think you don't, you know, his last performance was the Birdman movie. It was a really good performance. Fantastic performance.
That's an incredible movie. Like, that's a great movie. That's a one-shot movie. You know that, right? Like, there's
his performance is fantastic in that. I mean, it's really, really something else.
You know, my favorite movie of Edward Norton's is Death to Smoochie. That's my favorite movie that he's ever been in. That's my favorite Robin Williams movie. Like, that's crazy.
That's a hot take. We should do a hot takes Tuesdays on one of. You can do a hot take on why Death to Smoochie is your favorite movie. Anyway, let's finish our Nolan list, man. So what were we on? Number 2?
2. Yeah, 2. We were on
But
2.
I actually like that. That's a good one for a Hot Takes Tuesday. Death to Smoochie is your favorite Robin Williams movie. Is absolutely
Robin Williams and Edward Norton film is Death to
I'll have to
Smoochie.
see it again. But that's
so many people don't like it. So many people don't like it. I think I like it because it's the actors not playing something that they definitely don't play that shit. That's not the actors. That's not them.
Robin Williams is crazily good in that movie, though.
I know, it's so good, and that's why I like Robin Williams in 1 Hour Photo too. I really like him in that kind of like horror movie or thriller where he obsesses over the people, and he develops photography. But anyways, my number 1 pick.
Is it number 2 or number 1? What was your number 2?
The Dark Knight. Dark Knight, yeah.
I've got to do. Okay.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I've got number 2 and 1. But anyway, go on. I'll do my number 2 and 1 after yours. Because I've been speaking for a long time. But I wanted to say something just very quickly. Robin Williams is really great in that movie, but Edward Norton, that was one of the things of him being too much of an artist and hurting his own career, because he chooses movies on the basis of who's in the movie. Yeah. So he wanted to work with Robin Williams. So instead of choosing a good script that would be commercially successful, he was just like, I get to work with Robin Williams. Okay, then I'll do that movie. And I think it's a very stupid way to choose movies. Anyway, sorry. That was it.
Yeah, my number 1 favorite film and is The Prestige. That's like one of my favorite Nolan films.
Okay, good. I'm wondering if we should talk about this now, because it's coming up in my list. It's coming up in
then do yours, and then
okay. So my number 2 is Batman Begins. Okay, so Batman Begins, quite simply, is the greatest origin movie of all time, greatest Batman movie of all time, in my opinion. And I don't just mean because it focuses on Batman, but that is a good reason for it to do. But it's a great emotional tale. It doesn't fall into any of the trappings of Nolan. It really explores the emotions and vulnerability of Batman, of Bruce Wayne. And I was hoping for more of that in The Dark Knight. And I think Batman gets a bit sidelined in the second movie. You don't explore much more of what's going on inside him and his struggle with his parents' death and coming to terms with that. And I really like the fact that they really look at all sides of it and all the questions that one might ask about that. Like I thought one of the brilliant moments was when he goes, so what, your parents got shot when you were like fucking 12 or whatever, now you think you know the hard bits of life. You don't know what it's like to suffer and really have problems. You're Bruce Wayne. You're the Prince of Gotham. You're rich, right? So it said all those questions that you ask as a Batman fan, right? Like, look, dude, like, just get over it. Like, so what? Like, at least you're not like strung out in Skid Row or something like that. I mean, yeah, I could do a whole episode on Batman Begins, and probably will. But I think the 2 villains in that are 2 of the most underrated villains in all of Batman movies. I wish it had have ended a little bit better for Scarecrow, and he had to become the full Scarecrow and had a proper fight with Batman before Rachel took him out. I like the fact that Rachel was the one to take him out. But I think he should have had something with Batman
more.
Like had a showdown with Batman where he gasses Batman and then Rachel saves Batman. Basically, I think that would have been the nice thing. Like Rachel saves him by like electrocuting his face and then giving Batman the antidote, and then Batman goes after Ra's al Ghul. Then I think that would have been a perfect movie. And Ra's al Ghul, I mean, you can't go wrong.
Liam Neeson was so good. as that guy. It was
race,
so odd.
Race bended, but okay.
Did we see him again? Like just for a brief little bit in the Dark Knight Rises, the last one.
Yeah, we saw him in the Dark Knight. Right?
Yeah, that was cool to see him again. I mean, it might have been stock footage or who knows, but it was cool to just see him and get the connection. But even though we're just seeing it and we knew it, we you and I and people that watched the film and really love Batman, they knew the connection. Such a good movie. Yeah, you're absolutely right about everything about it. It's just good, and it really wasn't just like Batman origin, action, Bruce Wayne, Batman, action, done. It was like character development. Here's Gotham. Here's Gordon. GCPD, really introducing you to all the character elements and everything. Really, the universe is so well put together in that one film. It's pretty impressive. Usually it takes several films, a trilogy to do that, and he did it in one film, and then he made two more.
Which was right. One thing I really liked about Batman Begins, which I thought was unfortunate about the second two movies, was the set design of Batman Begins was just so much nicer than The Dark Knight.
It was cleaner and like
no. I think it was cleaner in The Dark Knight. I thought,
in The Dark Knight, really?
Yeah, I thought Gotham felt more like a character in Batman Begins.
Yeah.
I thought the layout of Gotham, it felt like a city that didn't exist in America. Or it existed in America, but it doesn't. We haven't been there. Yeah, like do you know what I mean? Like from all the films I've seen or the times I've visited America. I mean, I haven't been to every state, but I've been to quite a few states. But it didn't seem like any city I had been to. It definitely seemed like it was in America, but it didn't seem like any city I had been to or I had personally seen on film. It didn't look like New York or Chicago or, something like that. Whereas the second movie did. It looked like Chicago. Right?
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. I thought that Gotham, much like the Burton movies, making your own Gotham is part of
the whole deal. Batman movie. Yeah, definitely. Gotham needs to be its own character. Always.
Yeah.
Always. It's so important.
So, yeah, I think that's all I have to say about Batman Begins, unless you have more to say.
I mean, we'd just be repeating ourselves, That's all we'd be doing. It's a very good everything about the trilogy is so well put together. Like I said, like I told you before, the only thing that I dislike about the movies is the last one, on how it kind of strays away from how this feels, how like it could really happen. We could have a crime fighter like that in a city like that. How it could be possible for someone to have that much money and then put more money into like science and weapons and all that shit and develop it, because that's what our government does anyways. Like, in our military does that anyway. So it's like, it definitely could be possible. Yeah. It's just a beautiful trilogy, man. I'm so happy that we got something like that instead of just more flashy Batman stuff, kind of like a repeat of the of the earlier stuff, I guess, which I love the earlier stuff, but I just don't want to see it again. If they do it again, I'd like to see it like a little bit different.
Well, I think what Matt Reeves is doing is just excellent. He's giving us the third movie of the Batman that we always wanted, of the Nolan trilogy that we always wanted, which is a good way to start, because I know most people wanted Riddler. They did not want Bane.
Yeah, that's what Leonardo DiCaprio, I believe, would have been.
I would have hated that.
I think that's
fucking hated that. If he played the Riddler, I would have just I
wouldn't have liked it either, but I think if I remember correctly, that's who he wanted to have as the Riddler if they went that direction.
Ugh.
But
Yeesh.
it wouldn't have been good, really, because he's like, look at him in Inception. Do you really see him as the Riddler? Like, I don't.
He's
think so.
too good looking and well put together to be the Riddler. I just don't like it at all. It's just like, oh, let's get Leonardo DiCaprio to do everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like I like Leonardo DiCaprio a lot.
Just because
it's like, let's just put him in every fucking thing, you know.
Yeah.
And when you get overexposed like that,
oversaturation is not
you
good.
Lose your mystique, I think.
Yep, you lose anything that makes you special and different. If you oversaturate and we have just that over and over and over and over again, it gets really old pretty quick. And I don't want to. It's not like cancel culture where I'd be like, no, get him out of here. It would just slowly fade to like typical normal things we always see over and over and over again. You know, like cookie cutter films.
Yeah, I just like to see the appropriate person for that role play the role, right?
It's like very important.
I just think just putting a guy like getting Leonardo DiCaprio to play J. Edgar Hoover is just it's insanity. Do you know what I mean? J. Edgar Hoover, really? Fucking Leonardo DiCaprio, really? Clint Eastwood, like and it didn't do anything for him. It was like this Oscar bait movie.
No.
It didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't do anything. It was just like
and
a big
it
deal.
would have been a better movie if somebody else was cast in it. Ultimately, it would have been a much better movie, like Gary Oldman, anybody, you know. But I get why they cast him, because it's true. You know, you put Leonardo DiCaprio in a movie, he does somehow.
People are gonna watch it though.
In seats, and it's strange to me. Like, I hate the fact that you know, some of the films it's really, really worked with Scorsese, with Leonardo in the lead. But some of them you're just like, really? That character, you couldn't get anyone else to play him than Leonardo DiCaprio? I think somebody would have been able to do that a little bit better. There's some that were perfect for him, but some that really weren't. Like, you know, the one where he's playing the two cops, where it's Matt Damon and him facing each other.
Departed?
That was perfect for him. I'll even give you Wolf of Wall Street, but like fucking, you know, what was that one? Gangs of New York, and it's like, it doesn't work, man.
I love that movie, but that was the thing about the movie that I disliked, was seeing Leo, a pretty boy, as an orphan that grew up in the streets, and like, no, it didn't work. He's too much of a pretty boy. Like, even if you put dirt on him, he's still a pretty boy. Like,
I think if he didn't have to be the lead every time, if he could be a secondary character, that would be fine. But it's just having him as the lead in all of these Scorsese movies, and just like, dude, you can get better actors to fucking play some.
Yeah, you're Scorsese. You can get anybody. Yeah, I get that actors like familiarity. You know, they like to work with people that they are cool working with before, because it's easy. It's like, okay, it goes smoothly. You know, they don't really have to worry about things, I guess, or they feel they don't have to worry about things. But
Leonardo is smart. Leonardo's a smart guy, because basically what he did. Sorry, carry on. What were you saying?
No, I want to hear what you have to say. I was done.
Leonardo is smart because he actually went to Scorsese with projects. So he actually took projects, you know, bought the rights for books, and said, "Hey, Scorsese, this seems like something for you." So in that sense, you know, you can't knock the guy.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And he did that when Scorsese couldn't get big budgets from studios for films. So by actually, you know, having Leonardo DiCaprio attached to it, his budgets kept going up, and his
it
films
would go up.
making more money.
People would just throw money your way. Like, okay, cool, we're gonna make money off of that movie, so just give me it back in like
just as long as Leo's attached to it, and he's got a star, and you're directing. Now you're the dream team combo. So, I guess in that sense, it kind of makes sense that they did that. But then every director, it was same with Quentin Tarantino, became a star fucker, whereas his casting used to be really interesting. Eventually, it was just like, oh, let's have Brad Pitt, and let's have Leonardo DiCaprio. It's like, really, Quentin Tarantino? You can't think of, it was much more interesting when he was going for the John Travoltas and
the really eclectic actors, like the actors that it's not just they've been around forever, and because DiCaprio's been around forever too, but there's just something a lot different, I just, he's kind of boring to me.
He's not a boring actor, but I am kind of bored of him starring in everything.
Yeah, that's what I should say. That's how I should put it. I'm bored of seeing him in every goddamn movie that we see, But that one film that he got the Oscar for finally, or the award for, where he's in the frontier and the bear attacks him. That's a beautiful movie. But whoever was going to be in that movie, it would still be a beautiful movie. It'd be great.
True. Okay, so my number one is The Prestige. So you could start off. What's your thing with The Prestige?
Awesome. Well, when I was a kid, I used to, even when I was into comics or before, after, anytime, I love magic. It's magic. Something about magic.
Hey, do you want to become a magic duo?
I don't know magic.
But we can do mental magic. I'm getting a book.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd love to do just something. Anything. Magic.
We can do it on a YouTube magic channel.
That'd be crazy.
Okay. All right. So go on.
Yeah, magic is like awe-inspiring to everybody, almost anybody, everybody. When you're a kid, it's just like, oh my God, look what happened? How did you do that? And we're trying to figure it out. It's really kind of stimulating. So when I see a Nolan film with the cast of Batman, the great cast of Batman, and he's doing something completely different, and he's throwing David Bowie. So many things. The twist at the end, that was great. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see any of these things.
Three fucking twists in the end, man.
Yeah,
I didn't even get the twist until I was watching like the third time. Then I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, and that's that's a movie like we'll watch it and you don't catch things at first, and then we watch it the second time and we catch more things, and then like you said, you finally seen the twist the second or third time you've seen it. Those are good films, very hard to do with people. And I was just like, I could watch that again and again and again. I just, there's so many things about the film that's so good. The setting, the scenery, the sets, the way everybody played off of each other. It was just so good. So good.
Yeah.
Michael Caine was incredible in it.
Michael Caine, yeah.
Everybody.
I thought that was Hugh Jackman's best performance to date. I mean, he plays like two characters basically, and the drunk guy that he plays is just wonderful. Like the guy who looks exactly like the magician. It's just like, wow! Like the way he plays those two characters is incredible. Hugh Jackman. I didn't realize just from his Wolverine performances just how good an actor he was, and then I started seeing him in other movies, like what's this one he did with Jake Gyllenhaal, the Prisoners or whatever.
Prisoners. Oh man, Wow,
It's
that's another
fantastically powerful performance, Hugh Jackman in that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a guy that Tarantino could be working with, for instance.
Oh wow!
But yeah,
That would
you know,
be
like
something.
for some of the movies. But yeah, I just think that the Prestige, just as a movie, I just think it's one of those ones that you can watch again and find something new in it every time, and the twist is so sophisticated and delicious in that movie. And again, you know, the I love the magic kind of element of it, and like going behind the magic, but also the way he relates the magic trick to
science,
film movie making, right? Like to the magic of film, and how it is film is trying to always trick you and hide, you know, I love that theme in the movie. It's really, really well done. As somebody who loves movies, so yeah, I think that altogether, and it's a very emotional movie. It isn't cold, as I said, like some of his movies, and yet it plays on all the strengths of his kind of intellectual aspects of Nolan's movies as well. So it has all of them. It's drawing on all of his powers more than any other movie. So that's for me why that one is number one.
Yeah, that's I completely agree with everything you said. It's just such an incredible movie. Yeah, that is definitely one of my favorite Hugh Jackman films, Christian Bale films. I like it over Batman, even that, and that's crazy in itself. But
yeah, so I guess should we end it there? That's unless we've gone on a long time. I'm going to try and split this into 3 episodes somehow. I'll see if it's possible to do. But yeah, thanks so much for joining me, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you about film. You're so knowledgeable about it. So it's really good to get somebody who's as knowledgeable as, or, you know, even more knowledgeable than me in some ways. We've gone off on some tangents. I'll make sure I mention that in the description. But yeah, so thanks so much for joining us, and you will speak soon again. And to everyone out there, please like, subscribe, comment. This is a channel for film lovers. So anybody else who's you know, a film lover like we are is always welcome on the show. And if you comment, we will comment. We will definitely respond to the comments as well. So thanks so much. Have a good one. Peace.